came expecting mischief and don't need to see his friend's leg sticking out of the sacks to tell him that things were not well. He stood outside in the shadows of some way off and said, "What's all the trouble? Who has been knocking my people about?" "It's trolls," said Bilbo from behind the tree. "They had forgotten all about him. They're hiding in the bushes with sacks," said he. "Oh, are they?" said Dowen, and he jumped forward to the fire. Before they could leap on him, he caught up a bit French all on fire at one end, and Bert got that end on his eye. Before he could step aside, that put him out of the battle for a bit. Bilbo did his best. He caught hold of Tom's leg as well as he could. It was thick as a young tree's trunk, but he was sent spinning up into the top of some bushes, when Tom kicked the spark up in Tollin's face. Tom got a branch in his teeth for that and lost one of the front ones. It made him howl, I can tell you, but just at that moment, William came up behind and popped the sack right over Tollin's head and down to his toes, and so the fight ended. A nice pickle they were all in now, all neatly tied up in sacks. With 3 angry trolls and 2 with burns and bashes to remember, sitting by them, arguing whether they should roast them slowly or mince them fine and boil them, or just sit on them one by one and squash them into jelly. And Bilbo up in the bush with his clothes and his skin torn, not daring to move for fear they should hear him. It was just then that Gandalf came back, but no one saw him. The trolls had just decided to roast the dwarves now and eat them later. That was Bert's idea, and after a lot of argument they had all agreed to it. "No good roasting it now, it will take all night," said a voice. Bert thought it was William's. "Don't start an argument all over again, Bill," he said, "or it will take all night." "Who's arguing?" said William, who thought it was Bert that had spoken. "You are," said Bert. "You are a liar," said William, and so the argument began all over again. In the end, they decided to mince them fine and boil them, so they got a great buck pot and they took out their knives. "No good boiling him, we ain't got no water, and it's a long way to the well and all," said boys. Bert and William thought it was Tom's. "Shut up," said they. "Well, we'll never have done, and you can fetch the water yourself. And if you say any more—" "Shut up yourself," said Tom, who thought it was William's voice. "Who's arguing about you? I'd like to know." "You're a booby," said William. "Booby yourself." And so the argument began all over again and went on hotter than ever, until at last they decided to sit on the sacks one by one and squash them, and boil them next time. "Who shall we sit on first?" "Better sit on the last fellow first," said Bert, whose eye had been damaged by throwing. He saw Tom was talking. "Don't talk to yourself," said Tom, "but if you want to sit on the last one, sit on him. Which is he?" "The one with the yellow stockings," said Bert. "Nonsense, the one with the grey stockings," said a voice like William's. "I made sure it was yellow," said Bert. "Yellow it was," said William. "Then what just say it was grey for?" said Bert. "I never did," Tom said it. "That I never did," said Tom. "If it was you." 2 to 1, so shut your mouth, said Bert. "Who are you talking to?" said William. "Now stop it," said Tom and Bert together. "The night's getting on and down comes early. Let's go get on with it. Down take you all and be stoned to you," said a voice that sounded like William's, but it wasn't. For just at that moment, the light came over the hill, and there was a mighty twitter in the branches. William never spoke, for he stood and turned into stone as he swooped, and Bert and Tom were stuck like rocks as they looked at him. And there they stand to this day, all alone, unless the birds perch on them, for trolls, as you probably know, must be underground before dawn, or they go back to the stuff of the mountains they are made of, and never more again. What had happened to Bert and Tom and William? "Excellent," said Gandalf, as he stepped behind of the tree and helped people to climb down out of the thorn bush. Then Bilbo understood. It was the wizard's voice that had kept the trolls bickering and quarreling until the light came and made an end of them. The next thing was to untie the sacks and let out the dwarves. They were nearly suffocated and very annoyed. They had not all enjoyed lying there listening to the trolls making plans for roasting them and squashing them and mincing them. They had to hear Bilbo's account of what had happened to him twice over before they were satisfied. Silly time to go practicing pinching and pocket picking, said Bomber. What we wanted was fire and food, and that's just what you wouldn't have got of this fellows without a struggle in any case, said Gandalf. Anyhow, you're wasting time now. Don't you realize that the trolls must have a cave or a hole dug somewhere near to hide in the sun? We must look into it. They searched about and soon found the marks of the trolls' stony boots going away through the trees. They followed the door of stone leading to a cave, but they could not open it. Not through. They all pushed while Gandalf tried various incantations. Would this be any good? Asked Bilbo, and when they were getting tired and angry, I found it on the ground where the trolls had their fight. He held the largest key, though no doubt William had thought it was very small and secret. It must have fallen out of his pocket very luckily before it was turned to stone. Why on earth would you mention that? Didn't you mention that before? They cried. Gandalf grabbed it and fitted it into the keyhole. Then the stone door swung back with one big push, and they all went inside. There were bones on the floor where the nasty smell was in the air, but there was a good deal of food jumbled carelessly on the shelves and on the ground, among an untidy litter of plunder of all sorts, from brass buttons to pots full of gold coins standing in a corner. There were lots of clothes too, hanging on the walls, too small for trolls. I'm afraid they belonged to victims, and among them were several swords and various makes, shapes, and sizes. Two caught their eyes particularly because of their beautiful scabbards and jeweled hilts. Gandalf and Thorin each took one of these, and Bilbo took a knife in a leather sheath. It would have made only a tiny pocket knife for a troll, but it was as a short sword for the hobbit. These look like good blades, said the wizard, half drawing them and looking at them curiously. They were not made by any troll, nor by any smith among men in these parts and days. But when we can read the runes on them, we shall know more about them. Let's get out of this horrible smell, said Philly. So they carried out the pots and coins and such food as was untouched and looked fit to eat. Also one barrel of ale, which was still full. They did not turn their nose up what they had got from the thrall's larder. Their own provisions were very scanty. Now they had bread, cheese, and plenty of ale, and bacon to roast, and embers of the fire. After that, they sleep, for they might have been disturbed, and they did nothing more till the afternoon. Then they brought up their ponies, and carried away the pots of gold, and buried them very secretly, not far from the track by the river, and putting a great many spells over there just in case they ever had the chance to come back and recover them. When that was done, they all mounted once more and jogged along again on the path towards the east. Where did you go to, if I may ask, said Thorin to Gandalf as they rode. Look ahead, said he, and what brought you back in the nick of time? Look behind, exactly. But could you be more plain? I went on to spy out for a road. It would soon become dangerous and difficult. Also, I was anxious about replenishing our small stock of provisions had not gone from very far. However, when I met couple of friends of mine from Riverdale. What's that? Don't interrupt, said Gandalf. Where's that? Asked Bilbo. Don't interrupt, said Gandalf. "You will get there in a few days now, if you're lucky to find out about it." As if I was saying, I met two of Elrond's people. They were hurrying along with fear of the trolls. It was they who told me that three of them had come down from the mountains and settled in the woods not far from the road. They had frightened everyone from the district and the waylaid rangers. I immediately had a feeling I was wanted back. Looking behind, I saw a fire in the distance and made for it. So now you know. Please be more careful next time, or we shall never get you anywhere." "Thank you," said Throin.